My mother, when she used to bathe me, used to often say, "You are a Nagar Brahmin son. Your Gotra is Bhargav Gotra. You belong to the Ashwin Shakha." But then she would say, "Beta, jab dar lage to ye Ali Madad bol dena." And for the first time in the history of India, the news telecast of 9 o'clock was delayed by 13 minutes because the Prime Minister's office issued an instruction, don't break the tempo of the film. So we were children of sin, by the definition of the word. I'm the only man who's made 2 flops with Shah Rukh Khan. You're the first person who has the privilege to hear it. I am not a filmmaker. I made films to make money. Ayan is the James Cameron of the Indian cinema world. He said, "हमने आपकी भूख खरीदी थी."
Today, who I'm going to interview is not just a great filmmaker, a great human being, but one of those very rare people who has a healing aura and a monk-like personality. At least I feel that. So I thought I should just match the costumes accordingly. So I don't know how to introduce him, but all I can say is he's as young as the independent India. He has made almost 45 films as a director in the last 50 years. He's somebody, a lot of people, new age directors, actors take him as mentor, never mention his first name, but he's fondly called as Bhatt Saab. So ladies and gentlemen, presenting Mr. Mahesh Bhatt. So welcome to Cult Creators.
Thank you. Remove the word great.
Sure.
That's an insult to me because there's nothing great about any person. There may be great achievements that people have in the cultural space that we live in. There are great cricketers, there are great actors, there are great scientists, and that happens through constant application and tremendous dedication. But as human beings, I don't put anybody into the category of being above the so-called average, normal human being.
Mr. Mahesh Bhatt, for you, ladies and gentlemen. So this interview is not about anything. It is just about the man behind the brand. I know you won't like if I say brand Mahesh Bhatt, but how it all began. Like जैसे फिल्मों में होता है ना सर flashback, सबसे पहले आपकी याद क्या थी, where how it all started for you as a human being?
Well, it's very difficult to look through the mist of time and recall that moment where your journey into the world of movies began. But
Right.
when I look back, I was born in free India in the year 1948 to a Shia Muslim mother and a Hindu Nagar Brahmin father. My mother, when she used to bathe me, used to often say, "You are a Nagar Brahmin son. Your Gotra is Bhargav Gotra. You belong to the Ashwin Shakha." But then she would say, "Beta, jab dar lage to ye Ali Madad bol dena." And she sent me to an Italian run school. I mean, it was an English school, but the Italian missionaries ran it, called Don Bosco. And there we learned English because that was the language which was taught by families to their children, believing that that is the tool which will help them to create a space for themselves in times to come. My first memory is of the movies of my father, Mr. Nanabhai Bhatt, who made more than 100 films, and he was not married to my mother. So we were children of sin, by the definition of the word. Though according to me, nature doesn't look at anything as illegitimate, but the human society has created its own narrative wherein they decide somebody is legitimate and somebody is illegitimate. So they may deny you a municipal certificate and give you a legitimate identity.
Right.
But Mother Nature gives the sunshine to you, the same breath to you, the same perfume to you. So the storyteller in me took birth in me when I saw the dichotomy between the reality in my home and the world outside. I live next to Shivaji Park, where political leaders came and religious leaders came and social reformers came and gave great speeches. But I found that what was being told to me was not in operation in my home. And I saw the contradiction between my elders, my teachers, my parents, and the people around did not live what they spoke. There was this grim, harsh reality of the home. So I found it very difficult to marry the two. But I maintain that great storytellers do not reject that reality. They embrace that reality. They inhale that reality. They let it throb in every pore of their being. And yet they tell stories because they know that the world outside wants comforters. You want comfortable truths. You can't take blunt truths. Like you can't look at the sun without your goggles or a filter. You can't look at the raw, blunt reality as it is. You have to dress it up, decorate it, and present it. Otherwise, it's not marketable.
Sure.
So I learned that when I was very young. I was not a very good student. I was very bad in mathematics.
Again, so student by the means of definition of the society. You were
Yeah,
learning what you just
not
mentioned.
a very good student in terms of my academics.
Right.
My mother was very apprehensive of how would I make it. But I was more interested in what was happening outside the classroom. I used to look at the streets, and the life on the street interested me more. So I struggled and dropped out of college. And from the age of 15, when my father had economic distress, because filmmakers in those days went through the peaks and valleys. And when they went through the valley, they didn't have enough to fall back upon. So my mother said, your father's going for a bad time, he has 2 homes to run. So the leftovers will come to us. And you are a boy, the eldest, we had 4 sisters. पैसा लेके आना नहीं तो घर में वापस नहीं आना. Do some work.
So that's also a
So I started working at a very young age in summer holidays, and so I've been working ever since.
Working where?
The first job I did was with a friend's help. My best friend, my childhood friend, his name is Asghar Ali. He's a travel agent. He got me a job in a company called Killick Nixon, which has got a factory in Powai.
Okay.
We used to put up slotted angles and make racks. Then I used to sell air fresheners at petrol pumps to rich people who drove in and still having the perfume worn on their bodies. And I did all kinds of odd jobs, but I never could qualify for any job. So the only thing that I could fall back on was movies. And I didn't get into the world of movies because of my father. My cousin, she happened to know Raj Khosla. She was a very dear friend of Raj Khosla Sahab. And she recommended me to him, and I went to meet him at Mehboob Studio when I was barely 19 years old. And I still remember he asking me this question, do you know anything about filmmaking or films? So I said, no, sir. So he gave me a very warm smile and he said, great. 0 is a brilliant figure to begin from. And with that began my journey. I was a production manager first. The film was Do Raaste. The great Rajesh Khanna was coming into his own. And then I worked as a production and assistant in Mera Gaon Mera Desh, and then began my journey. At the age of 21, I made a film. The first 3-4 films were disasters, economic. And not because of anything else, because I really learned the craft while I was on the job. That's why I keep on telling people that you learn swimming by swimming, you learn filmmaking by filmmaking. And I keep on telling my disheartened assistants when they have failure, I said, jitni flops maine banai, tum itni film nahi banaoge. So I have failed my way to success. So don't let failure scare you. Because in any case, nobody gets out of this casino with anything in the pocket. So you might as well play the game audaciously.
And enjoy while you're playing.
And enjoy it if you can. And then I was lucky to be shattered by life,
Yeah.
with my relationship with Parveen Babi. I was a married man, and it was an extramarital affair, and that relationship shattered me. She spiraled into what is called madness. And that left a kind of those life burns were kind of hardwired in my consciousness, and to find some kind of catharsis, I made Arth. And Arth kind of was my rebirth, and that kick-started my journey. But prior to that, I was fortunate to meet a fascinating, enigmatic, anti-guru, a man who debunked the entire quest of man for what is called moksha and enlightenment, is U.G. Krishnamurti, who said this is the only reality. That thing that you're looking for does not exist, because when I failed, I had gone to the Osho ashram looking for peace, and I meditated 5 hours a day and did everything, but that was a way to escape from the bitter reversals of failure. And then I discovered, when I met U.G. Krishnamurti, that that was an escape route. Having failed in the real world, where all of you operate, I was trying to find solace through comforting words and the idea of enlightenment, moksha, and thereby saying I'm superior. But the real world has real measurements to achieve success and failures. Then Arth happened, and Saransh happened, and Janam happened, my autobiographical film, where it was shown in the biggest cinema hall called Doordarshan. Doordarshan was the national broadcaster in every home. And Mr. Krishnamurti, who was heading Mudra, came to me after they had watched Arth and Saransh, and they said, we want you to make a film for us. And we will show it as a prime time on Doordarshan. And I just achieved what is called reasonable success, and kind of was reborn. And all my elders said, Vijay Anand Saab said, kya pagal ho gaya television ke liye fir banaya? I said, no, I want to reach people. How do I reach people is not important, whether I reach them through a cinema hall or through a television set. And he said it was suicidal, but I think that is one of the most path-breaking narratives of mine. It was autobiographical. I spoke about my life, about my so-called illegitimacy, and the story of a man who gives birth to himself. And for the first time in the history of India, the news telecast of 9 o'clock was delayed by 13 minutes because the Prime Minister's office issued an instruction, don't break the tempo of the film. It's heading for the climax. And I think that was the rarest of the rare privileges. And I think the feeling of having the entire nation see your personal narrative. India embraced my story. The people of India, whom you call very traditional, are very human, if you ask me. My countrymen are not made of stone. They are flesh and blood people. And they embraced my story. Because the story of Karna, the illegitimate child, is in your great mythologies, right? And so I think Janam was a thumping success to the life where I proclaimed to the world what I am. I saw no reason to live a lie. And then fortunately I met Salim Saab, who was going through a bad phase after his split with Javed Saab. And we made Naam. And that kind of gave birth to Sanju, who had come back from his drug rehabilitation, and he was down in the dumps, and Kumar Gaurav, who was down in the dumps. But it was Kumar Gaurav who really fathered that film. And Salim Saab was the spine of the film, and Naam introduced me into what is called the Golden Jubilee Club. And with that, you have earned the reputation of being a dependable filmmaker. Then you discover some films will work, some will not work. You're as good as the story you tell. No matter how brilliant a filmmaker you think you are, ultimately it is the story and the mood of the nation at that time that decides the destiny of a film. So I made and then 89 I made a path-breaking film with my gorgeous daughter, Pooja. She was 16, 17. That film was made again for Doordarshan. And that was another high point of my career. Then 90 was Ashiki and Dile Ka Manta Nahi, Sadak, Hame Rahe Pyar Ke, and Sir, Sathi. And then I said, is life going to be just this? Make films. Somebody says first half acha hai, somebody says second half theek nahi hai. The opening is good, but then will it sustain by Monday or Tuesday? It's the same game. It's like a dog chasing his tail. And then I found that what I am living is not being translated actually into the movies. Because what people want is entertainment, and rightly so. As they say that there are two kinds of movies. You either make films for those who have been jolted by life and you comfort them, or you make films to jolt people who are very comfortable. So India has a huge population which goes to the cinema hall to buy illusions and to buy comforters. And I was a part of that hope peddling industry. And I did it till I needed a certain amount of name, fame, money. And then I said, how much do you want? And you can't be enslaved by this ceaseless pursuit of doing the same thing. Then I wrote my book in 1991, U.G. Krishnamurthy Alive. And then 1998, I made Zakhm after a very indifferent phase of rank bad films. Though I am the only man who has made 2 flops with Shah Rukh Khan. Though he was coming into his own, and I love Shah Rukh. And he's an amazing guy. But he, in spite of my dismissal performance, treated me always like a king.
Sure.
And it takes a king to treat another person.
I was just about to say that, right.
I'm an unusual guy, and I'll always be grateful to him. So 1998, Ajay Devgan, his father, Viru, was a fight assistant when we began a career.
Right.
He used to call me partner, and then when I became a director and he became a fight master, and his son got into the movies, he wanted me to work with his son. He said, "Tere haath se niklega to actor ban jayega." So I took upon me this task of working with Ajay. I liked him. There was an intensity in him. Very sincere boy. We made Najaiz.
Yes.
And he was very unsure about standing up with Nasir Saab. Nasir Saab was a brilliant actor. And I injected in him the confidence too, that he can do it. And he did it. But then we made Zakhm, which is autobiographical, which chronicled my life and also the truth of India. India had changed post 92, 93.
Yes.
And the narrative was changing. And the post-Babri Masjid demolition, the carnage in Mumbai, and the exposure to the hard truth which my mother said, that look, contrary to what they teach you in school, the reality is quite different. But then I made that film, and I might take my hats off to the NDA government at that time, headed by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Though I had problems with the censors, where I locked horns with the Home Department for 3 months. The film finally got a national award for the best film for national integration. I didn't go to take the award. Pooja went because she was the producer. That's it. So I think then I said I'm going to encourage young talent.
Correct.
I became, as I turned 50, I don't want to do it. I want to play the role of encouraging people, fanning their potential. Then Vikram Bhatt and Anurag Basu and Mohit Suri and Kunal Deshmukh and innumerable writer, directors, Shagufta Rafiq, the writer, from the bar dancer to achieving dizzying heights as a writer in Ashiki 2. So they all made the foray into the world of movies. I was fortunate to work with them, but the potential was theirs. I just fanned it. I can never take credit that I injected something which was not them. Imran Hashmi had it in him, and Mohit Suri had it in him. Anurag Basu was a talented man. So I couldn't, I mean, there are also people who couldn't make it, but if I rewind and replay my life, would I live it anywhere different, I would say no. I would do exactly the same thing.
By the way you say, I have almost kind of visualized it all the way you've mentioned or rather narrated it. So it feels fulfilling, sir. It feels worth it, or as you rightly said, because you wouldn't want to change anything of it.
Well, I feel that I started from zero. When Raj Khosla asked me, do you know anything on movies?
Gee.
I said nothing. You know, my first memory, you asked me about my first
Yeah.
memory. This is something which is there in my book which I'm writing. You're the first person who has the privilege to hear it.
Lovely.
Quote unquote privilege. I remember I'm sitting on the lap of a woman. It's a perfume body. Maybe it's my aunt or it's my mother. My aunt is Imran's grandmother, Purnima ji. Or my mother. It's a preview hall. There's a black and white film running on the screen. The hands are holding me. They've got bangles.
Right.
The film is very boring. The elders there, nothing is happening. And I'm stiff bored. The moment the hands are released for some time, I leap out of that lap and hit the ground, the carpet. There's a carpet there. And then I run to the screen. And when I run to the screen, I discover to my horror, when I touch the screen, I feel the grains of the screen on my finger, but there is no one there. There's no images there at all. And there's laughter behind of men and women. And I find that perfume body running towards me and the jingling of the bangles. They grab me with love and take me back. And the moment they drag me back, I can see those images again. And I've discovered that there's nothing there.
Illusion.
I went very close to it. My journey in life has been a journey of going too close to things. And when you go too close to things, you discover that all that you attribute to that fairy tale land does not exist. It's all in your head. That's why I keep on telling people who are in the business, I don't see where is the glamour in our business? It's either in the magazines or in the heads of the people.
Right.
It's hard work, anxiety, depression, fear, constant battling. You talk about a handful of people who have made it and you celebrate them, and through that, those tales eclipse those innumerable men and women of great talent who did not have the energy or the ability to fight and stay on. But this is a story world over. So do I know anything more today? The answer is no. I don't know. I know that I don't know. And I'm only left with a very deepened sense of ignorance.
Right.
If you ask me opinions on things, I will voice my opinions.
Sure.
But they are from my limited window. I'm lucky to meet a man like U.G. Krishnamurti, the most subversive man to have walked on this planet Earth. And I'm very lucky to write my most defining creative work, if you call it.
Gee.
Is The Taste of Life, which I wrote when he was going through the throes of death in 2007 in Balek, Austria, where he just wanted to just lie down on the bed and die. He said, I don't want to be plugged into any machine. I've come to the end. I don't want anybody to bear the burden of me. I just want to go. And you just make it possible. The man who had lived life on his own terms trusted me with his death. And that, according to me, became the defining document. So if you ask me, what is the legacy I would like to leave behind, if there's something like a legacy, I would say my book, A Taste of Life. That outweighs all the work I've done in the fictional world.
You rightly mentioned some of them might be more talented who haven't made it.
Yes.
How much of luck matters? Obviously, it matters in the world for people, but in our industry, how much does it matter, sir?
There's a phrase called kindness of strangers.
Yes.
People have been very kind to me. They've helped me. I wouldn't have been able to make it without their magnanimity, their generosity, their compassion. Earth. A man called Kuljit Pal, who was not a very well-known name, was a person by temperamentally a quote-unquote a gambler. He used to like horses and he used to go to the race course. Comes to me because he is making a film with my father, who's losing his eyesight, called Sinbad the Sailor. And he says, your father is losing his eyesight, so you're a director, why don't you help us complete the film? So I said, how much money will you take to complete this film? In any case, a film like Sinbad the Sailor in the 80s will not find any takers because the times have changed. So he saw the truth of what I was saying. So I said, how much money will you put? So he said, X amount of money. I said, you give me this much of money, I'll make you a film which is relevant, which has got the names of the contemporary players who are talented, and I will make it within the package that you are trying to finish this film. And then he said, okay. And he made Arth. And he had the audacity to stay with Arth and its ending and stand by me when for a year nobody was buying it because it had the most unorthodox end where the wife turns away her back from her husband and also the lover and chooses to walk alone. Now that becomes a defining film on female self-actualization. But could I do it without Mr. Kuljit Pal? No. Could I do it without the great Shabana Azmi? No. Could I do it without the great Smita Patil? No. Kulbhushan, Rajkiran, and the innumerable people who like Jagjit, Kaifi Saab, they all put their might behind my conviction. So while when we get deluded that it's our creation, it is the collective contribution of people coming together and collectively putting their best, and you just happen to funnel their best into some kind of a product which kind of gels with the consciousness of the nation. And Arth became the relevant film because women wanted to articulate that, they couldn't. They wanted to move away from that narrative. And so when I get a message from Shabana, who sends me a clip of the late Sushma Swaraj ji, who was the Minister of Information Broadcasting, who calls Arth her most favorite film, it warms my heart because it cuts across people with different kind of cultural backgrounds. And Shabana says that, look, she has done so much of work, but everything has been reduced to that one film called Arth. So we did something right. So it happened to be Saransh. If I had not been turned away by the NFDC, who had created this kind of a system where they would support young filmmakers who wanted to tell new stories, and I went to their doorstep having taken an appointment. They said, we can't meet you today because somebody who's very big has come to meet us. So I said, look, the government created the NFDC for likes like me. You have given me an appointment, I've made my payment for the script scrutiny, and you have given me an appointment. He said, no, you have to come tomorrow. I said, I don't have the money to come back tomorrow. I was to struggle to make a living in those days. So I was very angry and I said, give my money back. He said, we'll send it to you by post. This is a government establishment. So I was very infuriated. I was coming back in my bus. And I passed the Siddhivinayak temple. Lord Ganesh, my friend, my childhood friend. Something told me I must stop. I saw the Rajshri's office. And I jumped off at the signal just opposite the Siddhivinayak. And I bowed down to the Lord. I was his childhood friend. And I went to Rajkumar Bhajatia's office. Sejji was not there. I mean, Raj Babu was there, the Rajshris. He was doing nothing. And I just went and said, I want a story. I would like to make it into a film. So he had time. He said, okay, tell me what the story is. And I just started rattling off the story of Saransh. I don't know what he saw, because you can't possibly buy the story from a director who's not even made his first film. Arth was not even released. An old man and an old woman and a dead son, and it debunks the theory of reincarnation. I don't know what he saw. Then he said, can you show me Earth, which is made but not released? I said, of course. Then I showed him Earth and he told me, and he came out. He said, this picture is the winner, we'll buy it for distribution. And yes, the story you told me about Saransh, we want to make it. And when Saransh got him the Rajshri the glory, because they had made a series of flops and very bad films, as they said, bad films. They wanted to regain their reputation. I asked him, I said, Raj Babu, tell me, why did you back that boy who came to your office and told you a story as strange as Saransh? It got the award at the Moscow 1984 Moscow Critics Award at the Moscow Film Festival.
Yeah.
You know what he said to me? He said, हमने आपकी भूख खरीदी थी. You are hungry. You are hungry to make a film. And that's what I bought.
What have been your firsts in life? Do you remember the first film you saw in the theatre? You just mentioned about the black and white image.
I think that's the black and white. I don't know what. That's my first memory of a film.
Okay, but the one that you saw as a film, you remember that, okay, this is the first film I consumed in a theatre in your life? First one, where, which theatre, which film?
I remember seeing my father's preview of Sinbad the Sailor.
The first film set, I asked this question to Anurag Kashyap and he mentioned his first film set was Duplicate.
Was it? Okay. My first film set, my father's film. I remember he had set up a ship in there was a studio called Ranjit Studio in Dadar.
So when you entered that set for the first time, were you like a kid in a candy store who was mesmerized with what all is happening and it intrigued you further? Or you were just a son on his father's job or on his father's office? Or were you mesmerized with what was happening around?
No, I was like any child mesmerized by storytellers, and I remember I used to be mesmerized by the Hollywood films.
Right.
They were gorgeous. The Ben-Hur and Ten Commandments, the image of Moses putting his staff and the water separating. I mean, as school children, we were taken in hordes to watch the film for a discount. So there was the fantasy side and the reality of filmmaking. The reality of the filmmakers was something which I was not alien to. So I was not mesmerized. So I keep on telling this to people. I am not a filmmaker. I made films to make money. I was a bad student. The only thing I had was I had the ability to think in images, use sound and stories, and tell it. And that too I learned through trial and error by making first 4 films that did not work. But for strange reason, I had the charisma where stars always worked with me. They liked me for some reason. Sanjeev Kumar had a great contribution to my life. He had tremendous faith in me. I remember when my first film, Manzile Aur Bhi Hai, which was released in, the first bouquet of flowers that I got in my life was from Sanjeev Kumar. I remember my sister shouting, "Roses! Somebody has sent Mahesh roses." I remember, and the bouquet of roses came in a basket, and it was kept over the fridge in the hall. And I went low, it was a letter there. It said, "The takeoff may be slow, but the flight is certain. Love, Sanjeev Kumar."
So we were talking about your first salary. You remember how much that?
53 rupees. The first salary I got was in Powai. I stood in a queue. It was allowance for the week. I used to go to Thane and come back. So the allowance which I got, 53 bucks. I remember new 10 rupee notes had come from the big one to the smaller ones. And 3 bucks was separate given to me. It was put in an envelope. And I came home and I went to my mother and she was there. It was evening time by the time I came. And I looked at her with a twinkle in the eye. She says, "What?" And I said, "What?" She said, "My salary, first week's salary." And she looked at it and she counted the money. And she gave me the most heartwarming smile, and she put it inside her blouse.
Right.
And she said, "इसको मैं अपने दिल के पास रखूंगी। आज रात को लगता है चैन की नींद आएगी."
Your first award, if you remember.
My first award was, yes, I remember my first award was for Earth in Kolkata. It was by the Bengal Film Journalists. The award ceremony was delayed by almost an hour because the trophies hadn't come. And we were sitting down there sweating.
Your first mentor in your life.
My mother,
Your first friend.
Asghar Ali, my friend, still continues to be my friend.
So the first script you held in your hand.
A film called Jeevan Rekha, which was made by my father.
Ji.
It was sold for 7,500 rupees. There was a delay in the payment from the producer. He tried to shortchange me. I went to the Writers Association, filed a case against him to get my money. Jeevan Rekha was the name of the film. It was stolen from O. Henry's idea. But that was my first film, script which I wrote.
Script. The first negative review, if you remember. Do you read reviews? I mean, you used to, now you don't, or how is it?
Most of the reviews that in my formative years, when my movie bombed, I don't remember because I did not even think that they were worthy of being reviewed. Like Manzile Aur was too down market because it did not have celebrities or stars who the newspaper thought was worth giving space to. But I don't remember those going to the newspapers to read my review. We were more interested in what the trade guide or the film information said, because our destinies were written by that. Because in those days, movies were released not at one go. They were released in Bombay, and then how it performed in Bombay and what
territory-wise
what film information or trade guide said would decide the destiny. And so we were more concerned about what they thought. The mainstream newspapers in any way mocked at Hindi cinema. They felt that the mainstream Hindi cinema was not worthy of them even giving their opinion, till they started coming into that category of being watched and by the consumers of the newspapers.
True. Wow.
And yes, but initially some of the movies that I made, like Arth and Saransh, got very Janam, even now, very good reviews.
True.
But they control you by praising you, they control you by criticizing you. They control you by giving you money, they control you by denying you money. They control you. So I call them golden handcuffs.
Can't do without them. Very quickly, sir, our next quick segment is favorites. Your favorite movie, if you have to pick one?
Mother India is the greatest Hindi film that I have seen.
A book, one book that you feel is your favorite.
Well, can't reduce it to one book.
Sure.
But there are several books, so I will not be able to answer that question honestly.
Are you a brand person, clothing, anything that you prefer wearing specifically? Blacks is something we've seen as audiences, but is there a preference?
You know, why do I wear black? My mother used to look very beautiful when she wore black, because in Muharram she used to wear black and she used to go, and I loved that. She was a very fair woman. So I was in awe of her. And black, in a way, when you simplify a wardrobe to one color, then you don't have to spend time saying, what do I wear today? You just pick up a shirt and you wear it. And so I feel comfortable in black.
An actor that you feel is your favorite actor, if you have to pick one?
Shabana Azmi. She is the finest actress I worked with. And she had the generosity and the abundance to give it all.
One musician that you can say is your favorite, if you have to pick one.
Well, there are two kinds of movies. So, a Jagjit for Arth, unbeatable. Kaifi Azmi Jagjit. Nadeem Shravan. Nadeem Shravan kind of injected a new vitality into the music industry and the film industry. Where would Ashiki?
Ashiki.
Where would Dil Hai Ka Manta Nahi? Where would Sadak? Where would Hame Rahi Pyar Ke be without?
today,
Where would Raz be without Nadeem Shravan?
Absolutely.
Nadeem Shravan, undoubtedly the greatest. And of course, as an assistant, I was in awe of Lakshmikant Pyarelal.
Producer, if there is any, you can say your favorite producer.
Rajkumar Bharjatia.
Telling you few names, you just have to tell one word, two word, what you think of them today or describe them as. Anurag Kashyap.
A daring, audacious boy who has chosen to walk on the paths people normally don't walk on.
True.
Audacity. I admire his audacity.
Karan Johar.
A great achiever, courageous, bold, and has the guts to be himself.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh, outstanding. You don't make people like that. He's an amazing guy.
And you're talking about the human, not the actor.
Yeah, the actor in him is obviously the vehicle on which the persona stands.
Ji.
But I've listened to his heartbeat. There's a very big man in him. There's a very generous, a very courageous. There's a great human being there.
Amir.
A man who's caught in his idea of life being a document that can be perfected.
I get
A
what.
sincere boy, but a victim of an ailment of the burden of perfection, which kind of weighs you and people around you.
And this wasn't the case during Dil Hai Ki Manta Nahi and Hame Rahi Pyar Ke.
No, it was there all the time in him, but
Oh.
it was all the time there in him. But I think it became with time.
With time, of course.
With time, it becomes because you see, you can struggle for excellence. Excellence is giving it all.
Ji.
Perfection is it's not a scientific document. It's not a legal document. It's a work of art,
Right.
which is subjective.
Subjective.
And you just keep on crossing every T and dotting every I
Right.
and correcting every sound bite that I'm giving now and
Ji,
say
ji,
that I fumbled on that line.
Ji.
So we will be going on for 15, 20 days doing this interview.
I get your point.
Yeah.
And the outcome will still remain the same.
Life is flawed.
Right.
I understand he's a sincere boy. I mean, he's a great achiever.
Ajay Devgan.
A man with tremendous depth can still explore and excavate his potential. I worked with him and I thought that he did everything to touch his depths, but I was quite spellbound by him by his generosity and his ability to step back and give the center stage to Alia and Gangubhai. And that speaks volumes about him.
So, as a viewer and as a director, from Zakham to Gangubai, you see a great shift in Ajay sir, because depth, I think even then.
No, I think after Zakham,
Ji.
I loved him in Gangubai. I called him up and I told him. I called him up and told him that it requires courage to be what he did, because he's a star.
Yes.
And to be so assured and to step back
Take a step.
and give that space to a younger
Yes.
actor shows that he is large-hearted and he knows the movie game.
Deepak Tijori, I think, you have a very strong.
Deepak and me, I mean, he's like a child to me. And when you talk about Deepak, I just think that he dissipated his energy to become a director. I think he should concentrate more on being an actor.
Right.
He still has a lot of acting potential in him.
Anupam Kher.
Anupam Kher, I saw him in some, extraordinary in Saransh. Then I saw him in a very moving episode, in an episode that he did for a show which he dealt with the medical world abroad. And I thought he was very good. Then I saw him with a movie which he did in Hollywood, with the top American star. And it was so refreshing to see him not being intimidated that he was in the company of the mighties.
Ji.
And so I would say that, yes, the tragedy with Anupam Kher, if I may use the word quote unquote,
Ji.
he began with the best performance of his life. And it took him a long time to.
I think he believes in that, and he says that. He's said that in a lot of places.
Very difficult. Though he was very good in Daddy, he was very good in Janam. But when you get a role of that kind.
As your first.
Yeah. So for both of us, it became very difficult for us to beat Saransh. But I love his energy that he's still there, he's still running, and he's had 2 very successful movies this year. Kashmir Files and Kartikeya, and I think he does enormous amount of work, and he still has that thirst to keep going.
So, what I said previously also, then and now, what has changed in directors? तब और अब में क्या फर्क है आपके हिसाब से?
Well, I was dazzled by Brahmastra. When I saw the film, and I felt that this is a quantum leap, and I have no hesitation in saying that Ayan is the James Cameron of the Indian cinema world. And of course, it required a Disney and the likes of Uday Shankar, and of course Karan Johar, and the support of Ranbir and Alia and his entire team. But I think that it is something quite amazing.
In terms of vision and execution, both.
Just the audacity. There is a generation here, there's a filmmaker here who says, I'm going to stand up and make movies which are going to be as good as the best content that's created by the world. So it's playing in all the overseas.
Standing up and taking notice.
Yeah, I mean, just standing up and mesmerizing them by being rooted in India. They're rooted here, and yet they're very contemporary in their packaging and the way it looks. It has the breadth of India.
Yes.
And it's not so referenced from somewhere. It comes from his own DNA, his own gene pool.
Actors, then and now?
Well, I think Pankaj Tripathi is an outstanding actor. When I see Nawaz is outstanding. So I think you have a cinematic evolution, and the consciousness of the younger generation, they are more cinematically evolved, and that's what happens with every generation. The earlier generation contributes to the gene pool. The younger breed of actors need to also go into the depths of the past.
Audiences.
I think the audience is now merciless. It doesn't want you to play with their time. They know that life and time is one. And so they don't even want to see a promo
even
of 30 seconds.
For them, yes.
For 30 seconds, just put it off. They're cinema literate.
Yes.
They know from the moment you begin the film, they see where it's going.
Yes.
And they are interactive. They want to have a say in what they are seeing.
True.
So the world outside has changed, and the digital age has hit the gatekeepers of the film industry.
When do we see that slate coming up on the screen of film by Mahesh Bhatt?
I think I had said this in 1998 to Alia that I'm an extinct volcano. I have no desire to tell stories. I love people. I want to help people around me to come into their own. I will sit and listen to them now. Let them tell their stories.
Lovely, sir. I would just like to end this by saying that knowingly, unknowingly, you've created an ashram of your own where you are grooming talent. You are giving hope to people who feel it's very tough to get in here. And people like you, who we all look up to, when they give us this opportunity to kind of look within and see whether we can do something or not, I think that's the biggest service anyone can do. So thank you for doing that. on behalf of all of us. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
so
you.
much. This
Thank you
means a
so
lot.
much. Thank you so much.